And we are live. Welcome to Tonight in America. I'm your host, Dontarius Jones, and we have an exciting show tonight for you. It's good to be back here with you on a Monday night, or rather a Tuesday morning, technically speaking, because it's 3:29 a.m. I know I'm going a little bit late for you guys right now, but hey, give you guys a stream right now. So give you guys a late update because I got my mojo back. I feel like now I'm more awake than ever to cover politics. Excuse me, I had a tongue twist right there. I'm getting a little bit too far ahead of myself, but yes, I'm more rejuvenated, as you could say. Now we have something to really look forward to. You know, the war with Israel pretty much has started back up between them and Iran. Even though now, technically speaking, we're getting like mixed signals about like the fighting has stopped now abruptly again, even though Iran's demands, which is for Israel to stop bombing Lebanon, is still not yet quite complete. So if those are not, with that condition still not met, right now, what is going to happen again, according to Iran's own words, is that they're going to continue to fight with Israel and going to continue to keep firing missiles at them. Meanwhile, Trump is trying to scurry to get a deal done between both to end this conflict for good, or at least in like the immediate future. I don't know permanently this is going to end the conflict completely, because like there's no telling with the Israelis that this is going to completely be the end of the fighting between the two sides. But let's be real, it's never a guarantee of any of this stuff. And now we're going to also go back and look back also at this heated confrontation between Trump and Netanyahu when they got into it. This was back on June 1st when they had a heated phone call where Trump basically told Netanyahu to basically stop bombing Lebanon because we're trying to reach a deal with the Iranians, and we can basically come to a resolution to end the entire fighting right now in the Middle East and come to absolute utter peace. So with that, so we're going to cover everything right now. We're going to cover every ground right now. We're going to go back a little bit. Then we're going to go to recently as Sunday night into Monday morning. Talk about all this right now, what's transpired in these last 48 hours right now, and give you guys a quick rundown, a quick analysis of what's going on, and my prediction about what is the future entail for right now when it comes to these escalations that are going on in the Middle East. But like I said, if you are here right now watching with me up late at night and you love politics and you love talking about politics and you're like me, a night owl who doesn't really ever sleep, of course, well, forgive me for sure. These 3 a.m. shows are only going to be temporary, of course. Again, we're going to go back to our regularly scheduled program, probably doing them during the day, of course. Just give your brother some time, of course. I'm working on some stuff right now, but I'm trying to get the content out as much as possible. My clips are doing amazing right now. My shorts, they're getting a lot more people to the channel right now. We're about to be at 190 subscribers right now. That is a great thing right now. We're close to 200 right now. So let's try to get that up in the algorithm, of course, and try to get more discovery going right now, because, hey, we want to bring more people to the channel. We want to bring more eyeballs to this channel. We want to bring more people into the movement, of course. What is this movement's end game? Well, this movement's end game is to form a tight-knit movement together to fluctuate political change in America for the betterment of all Americans. That's the goal of the movement. So I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Hispanic. I don't care if you're black. You can't be a low IQ 85 IQ black person, though. You can't be a weed pot smoking, ebonics talking, nigga. This is not the movement for you. You can be Asian, regardless of whatever you want. This movement is for real niggas. I don't like using that term, but it's like, I'll just go ahead and give you like the everyday term. This movement is for people that want actual political change for the betterment of the country, not for the advancement of the worst of the country. No, we want the progression towards the betterment of the country. We want to actually save the country. So that's what Tonight in America is all about. That's what this whole show is about. This is what this whole show is fighting for, is to basically fight towards a better tomorrow for our children. That's what it's all about. So without that being said, we're going to probably just jump into everything right now because we have a lot to read and to cover. And we got two videos. We're going to react to Trump's interview that he did just 2 days, the day before yesterday. Excuse me. He did an interview with NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday. Excuse me. So we're going to react to that. Oh, my camera. What the hell happened? Yeah, so we're going to react to that. And we got some other ones. We're going to react to the video from Al Jazeera, who broke the news that when Iran fired the missiles at Israel as retaliation for them constantly attacking Lebanon and basically killing civilians to try to destroy Hezbollah. Then we're also going to watch another video I have right up here. Let me see what this one is. Yep. We're also going to react to a press conference that was done by the foreign minister. Back Hardy. I'm gonna react to that. So we have a jam-packed show. So make sure you got your popcorn ready. Make sure you got your soda ready. Make sure you got you some drink of water. Make sure you got up and took a piss right quick, because now we're gonna be into the politics right now. So without further ado, I'm not gonna delay this much longer. We're just gonna jump right into everything right now, okay? We got a lot of ground to cover. So let's see where am I at. All right. So this is from the New York Post, who broke the story of this news right here. So Trump reportedly tears into Netanyahu over Hezbollah strikes. What the fuck are you doing? President Trump repeatedly tore into Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday, demanding in an explicit, latent phone call that the leader resist strikes on Hezbollah. The tense call came after Iran threatened to withdraw from negotiations with the U.S. after Israel ordered strikes on the terrorists in southern Beirut. With Axios reporting, the president had at one point asked him, "What the fuck are you doing? You fucking crazy. You're effing crazy." Let me just stop the cursor because I'm on YouTube. So you're effing crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this. A U.S. official summarized Trump's comments to Axios. Another source described Trump as sounding pissed and claimed the president steamrolled the Israeli prime minister on the call. Bibi said, okay, just make sure everything is taken care of, the second official said. The president was reportedly aware that Hezbollah had been firing on Israeli troops, but was concerned that Netanyahu was disproportionately escalating the situation and potentially hurting U.S. negotiations with Tehran. Shortly after the call, Trump wrote in a post to Truth Social, "I had a very productive call with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel. There would be no more troops going to Beirut, and any troops that are on their way have already been turned back." Of course, that is not true. Right now, the fighting is still currently going on in Lebanon right now. As a matter of fact, they're still advancing right now into Lebanon right now. I just got a report right now for Rerum that the conflict right now in Lebanon is still not easing up right now. Israel is still currently bombing them. They're still currently trying to undermine the peace negotiations between both sides because they clearly want their objectives completed. So likewise, through highly placed representatives, I had a very good call with Hezbollah, and they agreed that all shooting would stop, that Israel would not attack them, and they would not attack Israel. Meanwhile, Netanyahu said after the call that Israel's stance on striking Hezbollah remains unchanged. Tonight, I spoke with President Trump and told him that if Hezbollah does not cease attacking our cities and citizens, Israel will attack terror targets in Beirut. He said this stance of ours remains unchanged. In parallel, the IDF will continue to operate as planned in southern Lebanon, he added. So this was the call that I didn't manage to cover a while back. So now I wanted to get over and to cover this with you guys for a minute before now we touch up what happened on Sunday into Monday morning. So as you can see right here, Trump is getting frustrated with Netanyahu, and it's clear as day that they're not on the same page when it comes to dealing with the aftermath of this war, or at least they're trying to go to the aftermath of this war, because Netanyahu clearly has his own political objectives at hand compared to Trump, who wants to basically find a way out. This is why he's constantly getting heckled about this from Democratic representatives in Congress every day when they're hackling a cabinet member about what is Trump's plans to basically exit from this conflict. And Trump can't really give a straight answer. And as you're about to see right now in the Meet the Press interview, he was asked a certain question and he's not given a straight answer. So Trump doesn't know himself exactly where does he go to get out of this conflict. How does he exit this conflict right now? So currently speaking, he's trapped right now. He doesn't know what to do, and he's hoping a deal could be made. Netanyahu, on the other hand, he's hoping to continue to bombard Lebanon in order to kill Hezbollah. His goals are clear because his constituents in the Knesset all basically going to turn against him if he does not complete his objectives. People got to realize Netanyahu's re-election is coming right up. He's up for re-election soon. He has to realize that in order for him to stay in power, he has to keep the fighting going. It's very clear as day. So he's not looking for an exit strategy right now, and this is a shame because we could be in this conflict right now. Everything could be resolved. The deal could have been made a long time ago. But there's clearly miscommunications from a lot of sides right now on this. Iran has made it clear the nuclear enrichment program is not up for sale. They're not going to give up their enriched uranium. They're not going to give it up at all to Trump or the United States or anybody, really. Before they did offer a chance to give it to, say, Russia as a possibility to have to house it, and they were only not enriched for like a certain amount of years, which J.D. Vance offered to them. Now, of course, Trump says no enrichment at all. They can never enrich at all. That's Trump's stance. That's his maximalist stance. That's in Iran's he's saying that to match Iran's maximalist stance. Okay. Netanyahu's stance is he wants to destroy the IRGC completely. So he wants the IRGC completely destroyed. He wants Iran weakening enough so then Iran can never truly stand up to them again. Basically, they've eliminated their greatest threat that they have in the Middle East currently still left in order to undermine Israel from becoming a global superpower. So with all this being described right now, you can kind of tell where we're at right now when it comes to trying to reach a deal and when it comes to trying to end all the fighting that's going on right now in the Middle East. Because right now, it's currently speaking, Netanyahu has his own goals, like I mentioned before, and Trump does too as well. Trump wants to get out of this war completely and pull us out. But Netanyahu, on the other hand, realizes he has his constituents all around him are doubting his leadership and doubting his sincerity about putting an end to all of Israel's enemies. And right now, he's basically got an invisible gun to his head to where it'd be damned if he do, it'd be damned if he don't. So that's that. Now let's get to what happened in the last couple of hours or so. Well, I got this little yellow light on me. Don't know what that is. But anyways, let's get to what happened on Sunday going into Monday. So as you can see right here, Israel and Iran exchanged fire, renewing fear of escalation. This is from the Wall Street Journal. In several weeks of attacks, the two sides targeted each other for the first time since a ceasefire took effect in April. Israel and Iran exchanged volleys of fire that extended into Monday morning in a tenumonious resumption of violence that tested President Trump's fragile Middle East ceasefire. The attacks and counterattacks marked the first time Iran and Israel have targeted each other since a ceasefire brokered by the U.S. went into force. In early April, they began with an Israeli strike on Beirut amid renewed fighting with the Iran-backed Lebanese militia Hezbollah, and threatened to escalate a conflict that has been largely contained since then. Despite a series of lower intensity skirmishes, Iran fired multiple missiles in several waves of attacks. Israel didn't follow through on a promise to counterattack despite warnings to hold off from Trump, which I have another article that's going to go more into that from Axios, who said a deal to end the war was near with Tehran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was under pressure from his political allies and the opposition to respond to the Iranian missile barrage. Israel said its air force struck military targets in central and western Iran in response, including air defense systems and weapons. An Israeli official said Other things including Iranian missile launch sites and non-energy infrastructure. Yachi Ledi, Israel's ambassador to the U.S., said on social media, Iran had warned it would respond with greater force against Israel and its allies if Israel retaliated. Of course, that actually happened. On Monday morning, local time, Israel sounded alarms of multiple new waves of missiles launched from Iran and said it had intercepted a ballistic missile launched from Yemen, likely by the Houthis, the Iran-backed U.S. designated terrorist group that runs much of that country. Now, the Houthis fired that one missile just to give off like a clear indication we're also involved. We're still here too, and we have Iran's back. And they also now just announced they close the Red Sea, which I have a post from X to show you guys right now. So right now, how everything's looking right now, the Middle East, everything's getting very chaotic right now. You know, you got Iran rejoining the fight with Israel, and you have the Houthis also rejoining and also closing the Red Sea. So that's a big escalation right there. Very, very big escalation. So let's go over here to this report from Axios. I wonder if I should turn this light off because, like, I don't like how the way this is looking right now. What's giving me this blue light? No. Anyways, let's go ahead and go. So Trump tells Netanyahu not to strike Iran. President Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Sunday not to retaliate against Iran's missile attack and allow more time for diplomacy, according to a senior U.S. official and an Israeli source familiar with details of the call. Why it matters, Trump's efforts to restrain an Israeli response signals his administration's push to keep escalating Israel and Iran's tensions from derailing ongoing U.S. negotiations with Tehran. State of play, Trump told Axios before the call that he planned to urge Netanyahu not to retaliate against Iran's missile attack, which Tehran said was a response to an Israeli strike in Beirut early Sunday. A senior U.S. official said the Trump administration didn't give a green light to the Israeli strike in Beirut. Behind the scenes, Trump told Netanyahu during the call to hold off because we are close to doing something good in terms of a deal, according to a U.S. official. Netanyahu pushed back, but ultimately Pursuto agreed to stand down, the official said. The official said Sunday's call was calmer than last week's tense exchange between the leaders and that Trump did not raise his voice at Netanyahu, like we covered that earlier. We think the president brought a little bit of time. He is pretty adamant that we are close to a deal with Iran. I don't think anything is imminent in terms of an Israeli strike, the U.S. official said. We are in a moment in time why jeopardize a potential deal when you are in the fourth quarter? The president thinks that we have been in this thing for 3 months and now is the time to end this thing, the U.S. official added. What he's saying, Trump told the Financial Times that Netanyahu won't have any choice but to accept any deal the U.S. secures from negotiations with Iran. I call the shots. I call all the shots. He doesn't call the shots, Trump told of Netanyahu. It's a very clear indication what's going on right here. So there seems to be a disconnect between Trump and Netanyahu for the first time in a long time we've ever seen some. So they're clearly having big disagreements right now, very big disagreements. You've never seen this before, how badly that they're politically disagreeing right now, especially when it comes to like dealing with these Middle Eastern conflicts. So for the first time in a while, I'm even surprised by the language that Trump's using, basically to go back and forth with Netanyahu about when it comes to like ending this conflict completely and coming to a peace agreement. It's very clear that the Israelis don't want peace. Okay, the whole government itself literally wants this whole conflict to continue on. Even the people. Majority of the people wanted this. They voted for this. Majority of the people, because there was a poll conducted in Israel, wanted this conflict to continue on. So what I'm hearing from Trump right now is very surprising, but at the same time, I mean, like, he's only doing it because this war of choice is unpopular at home. Poll numbers show how unpopular this war is. The price of gas is going up. In certain states, it's like $6 in California. So it's very clear from it's very clear from what's going on domestically in the United States. It's driving Trump's way of thinking right now to where he wants to end this conflict as soon as possible and reach an agreement so that way he can try to save face enough time for the midterms that are coming up very soon. That's clearly why he's pushing so hard to get this conflict resolved as much as possible, because the midterms coming up and the Republicans want to remain the majority in the House. Unfortunately, I mean, that doesn't seem like this is going to happen anytime soon. It's not, and especially not at the expense of Israel. Israel is not going to allow this to go on, not to just end right now without them meeting their military objectives at all. If they're not going to beat Iran, they're going to at least want to wipe out Hezbollah. And they're very clearly not going to stop. So, and then all this part right here, where he talked about he told the Financial Times about when he told Netanyahu, he won't have any choice. I actually got that article right here pulled up for you guys. So let's go ahead and dig into this one so we can get further context on this one. So this is from the Financial Times. Trump says Netanyahu will have no choice but to accept a deal with Iran. U.S. President tells Financial Times that he calls the shots after urging the Israeli leader not to retaliate against Tehran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will have no choice but to accept any deal the U.S. negotiates with Iran. Donald Trump said because of the U.S. president calls the shots, he won't have any choice. Trump told Financial Times in a telephone interview, "I call the shots. I call all the shots. Netanyahu, doesn't call the shots." Trump spoke shortly after Iran launched a salvo of ballistic missiles at Israel in the most serious breach of the ceasefire that was struck in early April. The president separately told Fox News that he would instruct Netanyahu to refrain from taking retaliatory action against Iran, a position at odds with statements from the Israeli military. Trump said that Iran's strikes had not changed his desire to conclude U.S.-Iran negotiations. It's not going to have any impact on the deal, he told the Financial Times. We'll see how it ends up. But the missile strikes on Israel were attacks that did not kick at all. It's one of those things that's been going on for 3,000 years or 47 years, depending on how you count. In contrast, however, to his position since U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance led the first negotiations with Iran in early April, Trump did not sound bullish that a deal with Iran was imminent. "I think the deal is going on," he said. "We'll see what happens." He underlined that Iran's attack on Sunday would not affect his calculus. The deal may make it on its own merit or not, but this will not have any effect on it. Asked what would happen if any such deal failed on its merits, Trump said he would consider a commando raid on Iran. "It means one of two things," he said. "Number one, it would mean that possibly we would go in and take care of the rest of the place that we didn't take care of militarily. Or it would just mean that we would keep the blockade on Iran because the blockade has been probably more powerful than any attack that was ever made on the country." Trump's comments about Netanyahu follow a leak last week to Axios of a blustering call between the two leaders, in which a U.S. official described the president telling Netanyahu, "You're fucking crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me." Yeah, I know I broke my rule about no cursing on YouTube. It's fine. It's fine. We're going to keep going. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this. So like I said before, like I mentioned before, you can kind of tell like the disagreements politically from the two sides. Like they're not at all on the same page when it comes to this anymore. At first, when the conflict started, the goal was clear: destroy the IRGC, cripple their government, then have the Iranian people rise up and take back the government. Basically, commit a regime change. Commit a regime change by the rise of the Iranian people to overthrow their tyrannical government and bring in a new democratic society. It's been like the talking point of the neocons for years. It's been a neocon talking point for years. So unfortunately, now that we've reached to this point, now we've had a ceasefire that's basically just been kind of like holding on just by fragile little bit as much as possible. But today it's clear that the ceasefire is only like gonna hold on for so long. So we don't know how long the ceasefire is going to keep going on, because at this point, this fighting for the past 24 hours, it's clear that Iran's ready to get back to destroying Israel if they don't stop bombing Lebanon. Trump's clear goal is to exit the conflict to reach a deal. The only problem with this is like I said before, the Israelis do not want peace. They want to continue this. They want this to continue on because they want to be able to destroy Iran. They want to be able to eradicate Iran completely, and then they can push towards greater Israel with land expansion. Why do you think they're going after Lebanon? Lebanon is part of the land expansion. Parts of it's going to be destroyed and expanded more for Israel. So Israel can grow from that small little country that it originally is to something far bigger and, no pun intended, greater. That's what the Israelis want. They say this all the time. A lot of far-right Likud party members like Smotrich, Ben Gvir, they say this all the time. Israel cats, they all say this stuff. They all say it all the time in interviews. They want greater Israel. That's what they're fighting towards. So this conflict for them cannot end, and for Bibi especially cannot end, because for him, re-election's coming up and he wants to be able to stay in power. Oops, sorry about that. Turn my phone off because I forgot to turn my phone off right quick. All right, oil prices jump. Now, this is one right here is to basically show you guys right now that as soon as this conflict resumed between Israel and Iran, oil prices jumped up again. Because as you know, whenever conflict goes on in the Middle East, whenever there's war going on, there's always a fluctuation in the oil. When it comes to the prices of the oil, it goes up and it goes down, depending on the situation of what's going on in the Middle East. So as you can see now, it's jumped up again. Because the oil markets, they're watching carefully about what's already going on. If there's going to be a push for peace, then the markets will drop. But if they're not, then they're going to rise. And unfortunately, now they've jumped up again because of the bombing between Israel and Iran. And now it seems like to me these gas prices are not going to go down anytime soon, as much as the president keeps trying to reiterating that they are going to drop as soon as this entire thing is finished, which many economists disagree with him on that assessment. So oil prices jump after Iran missiles threaten fragile ceasefire. Traders worry that new strikes could escalate into a return to all-out conflict in the Middle East. That's already happened. Oil prices jumped as markets opened after an escalation of hostilities in the Middle East threatened to shatter a fragile truce and undermine prospects of a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Brent crude, the international benchmark, rose 5% to $97.85 a barrel in early London trading after Iran fired ballistic missiles at Israel. In the first such attack since a ceasefire was implemented between the countries in April, West Texas Intermediate, the U.S. maker, was up 4.7% at $94.80. The Iranian attack followed an Israeli strike on Beirut that Tel Aviv said targeted the Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group. Fresh fighting is jolting oil and equity markets from their deep and persistent optimism that peace is at hand and the worst of the Hormuz disruption lies behind us, said Bob McNally, president of the consultancy Rapid Energy. Traders feared that the back and forth could escalate into a return to all-out conflict in the Middle East and snuff out hope of a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway through which a fifth of global oil supply usually transits, has been all but closed by Tehran since the U.S. and Israel launched their initial attacks on Iran in late February. Brent has risen as high as $126 a barrel since the conflict broke out as a global supplies are stretched thin, driving up fuel prices and promoting a surge in inflation in economies around the world. As higher prices erode his popularity with voters, Donald Trump has pushed hard for a peace deal in recent weeks. I mean, like we mentioned this earlier, this is why he's trying to fight so hard for peace, is because this war of choice has really caused an economic nightmare for Trump. His popularity numbers are only going to go down. Hell, he might even make it to being the worst president in history, right there next to President Nixon. That's even crazy to say that. First time in history that a president is going to probably have a lower approval rating probably than President Nixon, or probably the same as President Nixon at this point. The way this war is going on, the only one that's going to be loyal to him are literally just the cocksuckers at this point. Because the way this is going right now, the oil markets are hoping for peace, so that way they won't have to keep raising the prices of oil up. But unfortunately, they're never guaranteed it, because like with this constant worrying of the conflict continuing on, there's no telling if peace can ever truly be achieved right now at all. Because we've been trying to get a deal done for the past couple of months, and we still have not got a deal. It's June now. The conflict started back in February. We still have no deal. So there's no telling exactly what's going to happen from this point on. Because they said deal was almost reached, and then all of a sudden, because Israel would not concede on bombing Lebanon, Iran decided to just go ahead and retaliate right back, and then the conflict just seems like it's just reopened back up. Now, of course, they said they agreed to a peace agreement to stop, according to Trump's Truth Social post. We might review that later, but there's no guarantee again of that holding, because Israel will not stop bombing Lebanon. They're still bombing Lebanon right now. Again, like I mentioned it earlier at the top of the show, they're still bombing them, and they refuse to stop bombing them because they have this hard on for Hezbollah, because Hezbollah defeated them back in 2004. They have this hard on to destroy Hezbollah, and they will not stop until they achieve that objective. So as we got right here, this is from Israeli news. This is the left-leaning Horowitz. This is the left-leaning Israeli news outlet. Israel strikes multiple targets across Iran, including petrochemical plant. So when I say earlier that they want to escalate this completely, they really are trying to look for a major escalation. Striking a literal chemical plant is grounds for complete escalation. Okay. The energy infrastructures, the oil infrastructures, they've made it very clear. If you target those, we're going to also target all the energy and oil infrastructures across the region. They're not just going to target Israel's. It might be a little bit harder to strike those ones down because of the Iron Dome, but that doesn't mean that the other Gulf states are not up for grabs. They already bombed Bahrain. As soon as after they bombed Israel, they bombed Bahrain too. Those ones are all for every one of those countries, the UAE, Qatar, the Saudi Arabia, they're all up for grabs. So if the escalation does not stop at all anytime soon, and then Israel continues to keep trying to escalate this further by bombing the energy and oil infrastructures in Iran, then Iran is just going to go full on willy-nilly and just start destroying energy and oil infrastructures across the region. And then we really are going to have a global recession. We really are going to be very fucked at that point, my friends. We really are going to be that fucked. So this is how dire the situation is becoming right now. It's really becoming very bad right now. I would say that. So as we got right here, this is from Mario. This is the announcement from the Houthis that they closed the Red Sea. So the Houthis claim responsibility for some of the missiles launched at Israel and announced a complete and total naval blockade against the Israeli enemy in the Red Sea. They're promising to escalate in line with field developments and say operations will continue for as long as the war does. For context, they first banned Israeli-linked ships in the Red Sea back in November 2023 and have reaffirmed the ban several times. So the Houthis are a part of it back again, and now they've taken it as far as to just basically blockade the Red Sea. As you can see right here. So we're going to go to one of the most hardcore Zionists on the planet right now, Mike Huckabee. Or as a better term is Mike Huckabee, because he was there when all these missiles were firing off. So we got some of his tweets right here. So Iran fired missiles at Israel last night and early today. The missiles alerts sounded at 6 a.m. in Jerusalem. They were intercepted. Thank God. Iran and its proxy agents of evil want to incinerate America and Israel. Mothership of Satan is in Tehran. In the shelter now, hearing loud booms over. Let me kind of, because some of the people rattling out in the fucking comments, bro. In the shelter now, hearing loud booms overhead. Hopefully it's the interceptions. Another day we live under the threat of crazed Iranian regime. My neighbor sent this moments ago. Excuse me. Damn, I can't read right now. Source of overhead explosions. As you can see, there's a photo right here of an I guess what it appears to be an interceptor missile intercepting an Iranian ballistic missile. So, all right. So I think that's it from Mike Huckabee. And right here we have a post from our good friend Mark Levin. Damn, but people rolling out in the fucking net. While we turn on Israel and Netanyahu tonight. Wow. So let's go right over here. This is from Dave Smith replying to that tweet right here by Mark Levin. Of course, this isn't true, but I appreciate Levin making it clear what side he's on should there ever be a split. Of course. Now, this one was released earlier today. Trump wants to call the shots, but in Iran, he keeps hitting his limits. President Trump is grappling with his own version of the sort of Middle East crisis that beset his predecessors and that he promised to avoid. President Trump has defined his career in politics with displays of dominance and control, but in the Middle East, he faces a rolling crisis that keeps thwarting those impulses. On Sunday, Mr. Trump lashed out at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, telling the Financial Times that the Israeli leader won't have any choice but to accept a U.S. negotiated deal with Iran. I call all the shots, he said. But early Monday, Mr. Trump was still trying to rein in Mr. Netanyahu, writing on social media just after 5:30 a.m., Israel and Iran must immediately stop shooting. 100 days after starting, God damn, I can't read today. The U.S.-Israeli war on Iran on February 28, Mr. Trump is grappling with his own version of the sort of Middle East military quagmire that beset his predecessors and that he promised to avoid. On Sunday, Mr. Trump tried to deny that he had ever made such a pledge, telling NBC News that I don't like these endless wars, but also that this is not an endless war. He won a tactical reprieve on Monday when Iran and Israel both said they would hold their fire after their first strikes on each other since April. But the fundamental deadlock remains as Iran hawks in Washington warned that the president faces a strategic defeat and as polls show broad disapproval of the war as the midterms approach. Trump launched a war of choice, overestimating America's military capacity and underestimating Iran's, said Aaron David Miller, a former State Department official who is a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. That is a box that Trump cannot get out of right now. That box includes Iran's de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which the U.S. counter blockade on Iran ships have been unable to resolve. There is also Mr. Trump's demand for wide-ranging concessions by Iran on its nuclear program, which Tehran is resisting. So, without going further into this right now, so basically, yes. So Trump's pretty much just trapped into, pretty much just put himself in a rock and a hard place right now. You know, the blockade was a bad idea from the jump because now we just blockade another blockade pretty much. I mean, like we blockade a blockade. I mean, so he's trying to stop the Iranians from getting getting financial incentives from all other ships that are passing through the Strait of Hormuz. He's trying to stop that from happening. So he clearly didn't know exactly how to go about trying to open the Strait of Hormuz. So instead, his logic just came to the conclusion that let's just go ahead and just blockade the blockade. So and then he's trying to reach an agreement with Iran to end this thing completely. But like I said, the Israelis want to go ahead and continue the conflict right now, at least with Hezbollah. So we're really at this point of where are we really going to be at right now? Yes, Iran and Israel agreed to stop the firing, but for how long? As long as they keep bombing Lebanon. Well, Hezbollah's there too as well. But if they keep bombing Lebanon, there's no telling that this is going to end completely. There's no telling of that at all. So right now, like I said before, what's going on right now in the Middle East, there's no clear indication of where we're going to go in the next couple of months. There's no clear indication of what's going to happen. The only thing what you need to know is you need to be prepared just in case this stuff happens. And what we know we need to do right now as Americans every day, we need to better ready ourselves just in case the worst case scenario happens. And what do I mean by when I say that? You need to get smart. You need to get politically savvy. You need to understand exactly what's really going on. You know, I'm sorry that a lot of Americans are dealing with a lot of this hardship right now, especially when it comes to the gas prices and stuff like that. You know, all this stuff is rising up because of what's going on with this war in the Middle East and also the war in, Eastern Europe with Russia, Ukraine. But right now, what we need to do is we need to basically go out there and bring awareness to this problem a lot. Like I said before, what I mean by bringing awareness to this problem is like, if you're a political commentator, if you're going out there, you're going out there speaking about politics, you need to really bring more awareness to the issue right now. Let me go ahead and bring my face up right quick. What I mean by bringing up, close this tab. Okay. So what I mean by we need to bring more awareness to this issue right now, what's going on in the Middle East. We need to go out there and really speak out against this stuff right now and really express our dismay against this, because none of us are ready for this war, and we need to actually do something about it. And I remember I watched Nick Fuentes the other day, and he was saying that voting Democrat to basically punish the GOP and to stop a lot of what they're doing right now, basically from basically trying to have any form of power right now by voting in House Democrats to take over the majority and to undermine Trump's goal. And then maybe they might impeach him. Of course, now in principle, I don't agree with that strategy, of course. You know, I don't agree with voting Democrat. I'm not going to vote Democrat. I understand the message about what Nick Fuentes is saying, but again, there's other ways we can go about bringing about, in my opinion, there's other ways we can go about dismaying to the GOP, of course. I mean, realistically speaking, if let me be for real. All right, let me be for real. Tweeting about it's not going to really do us no good or whatever. It's not going to really do us good. Like getting together, going and protest outside of the White House, not going to do us no good either. That doesn't lead nowhere besides you just getting put in jail, whatever. You're getting tear gassed. It's not going to do us no good. So let me actually change that messaging right quick about we can really do something. What we need to do is actually look forward to 2028. That's what I mean about doing something. So 2028 in the next couple of years, about when the next presidential election comes up, and we're hoping for an actual presidential candidate that is going to put America first. Right now, all we have is Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance as two of the Republican candidates that are possibly going to run for president. We don't have anybody as of yet that appears to be anti-Israel, anti-foreign money, and that is truly America first as of yet. So the hope is, if you're a guy out there that has big political aspirations, you already have the degree, you're already in politics or whatever, and you truly believe you can make a change, go out there and actually do something to actually orchestrate change in America in the right direction, then running for president in 2028, especially if you have the credentials or not, that would be the most important step to orchestrating change. Now, in the short run, it's like what Nick Fuentes suggested, voting a Democrat. But I'm looking towards the longer term. I'm looking towards 2028, where we need a true America First president, a true America First candidate that's really going to lead us in the right direction. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I mean why we need to actually like orchestrate change. And many other commentators have said this too as well. We need a real candidate that's going to be for the people. That's going to really be for the people. Not one that's not for or left. I don't agree. No, not one that's going to be for or left. We want a candidate that's going to be right wing. We're going to be a candidate that's going to be a Republican candidate. We want one that's going to be for the people and not allow foreign money to basically dictate his decision making. He's going to tell the Israeli lobby to fuck off. He's not going to sit there and be told what to do by them. He's not going to allow foreign interference in the federal politics anymore. And he's going to basically put this country first and foremost and prioritizing fixing all of the domestic issues that we have going on here. That's what I want in the short term run. So when I say we need to go out there and punctuate political change, look, hide your power level for right now. If you're a young kid, you're going to college, become a lawyer, become a political activist, become something. Get involved in politics in the right ways, in the right areas. Don't go out there and just like start just saying stupid shit or whatever. Even this message is being coined by a lot of like America First podcasters, and I'm just reiterating this talking point, but like it's just true. The only way we're going to really functionally change in America is like you have to really get politically savvy. You have to get the credentials. You have to get in the right positions. You have to run for office. And then once we have the right people in the right positions, then we can fight towards change. That's the longer term. Now, if you want to go out there in the midterms and vote Democrat, look, that's a great strategy. I agree with. I can't argue against that because that is punishing the GOP. That's not saying you're becoming a Democrat. That's just wagering your vote. I'm not going to step out and go vote in the midterms. I will be covering them, but I'm not stepping out to vote. What we need to do, we need to look forward to 2028. We need to find us a proper candidate that's going to be about the people. He hasn't shown himself yet, but hopefully by 2027, we see who that person is. Next year was when the primaries start. And hopefully that candidate makes himself known and we support him fully. That's what you can do. That's what you can do. You can vote for those that are going to put this country first. Only after we clean the swamp. Really actually clean the swamp. So that's that for that one. So that's just what I want to say about that one, about really functionate political change. Like we have to actually look forward to 2028. Like 2028 is the big time for real change in this country. Because it's not going to happen right now in the rest of this year in 2027. It's going to happen hopefully in 2028 when we actually can see who are our best choices for a America First president, who's going to preach being America First and who's going to actually be about putting this country first and foremost. Because right now it's looking very bleak and it's looking like we're going to just have Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance as the two presidential candidates that's going to be running, and we're not going to have either good choice. And then for the Democrats, they're probably going to have like someone like AOC run, probably. It'd be funny if they had Jasmine Crockett run. That'd be a terrible shit show for them again. Well, Kamala Harris probably gonna run again. Probably Who knows? Who knows? But let's go ahead and get back into it right now. But like I said, real change can only come whenever we get towards when we get towards 2028 elections. That's where the real change is going to really be begun to happen. Leave a like, leave a comment if that makes some sense or whatever. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say right there. Real change is not going to happen right now in the next 2 years. 2028 is when we're going to shoot for looking for real actual change in this country and fight towards a real, like, actual a real actual kind of reset. Basically, we want this country to basically be fixed. We want this country to basically be cleaned up because we have so much going on. We have so much crime, we have so much homelessness, we have so much people being in debt, we have so much a little bit of everything. The economy's in shit right now. We don't know exactly where we're going to go. And the only way we're going to be able to get everything done correctly is if we stop playing around the Middle East and start prioritizing us domestically. Now, of course, I support any intervention in the South America because the stronger the American empire is going to be, for the better. China is making their moves. Russia's making their moves. We need to start making our moves. We need to start actually prioritizing our national defense strategy. And it's not playing around the Middle East. We can have a better relationship with Iran by coming to the table with a deal and negotiate for the betterment. We don't need to go out there and start trying to demand maximalist agreements, especially when we cannot fully utilize our military full capabilities in the Middle East, because it's far harder to move the military capabilities all the way around the world to be able to execute the military objectives like we were hoping for. So it's far harder. Anyways, let's jump into this right here. This is from Al Jazeera. This is when the news broke of when the Israeli army had announced that Iran was firing ballistic missiles at them again and basically restarting the mini little conflict that they had on Sunday going into Monday.
I want to bring in Nita Ibrahim now, who joins us now on the phone. She's in the occupied West Bank. So, Nita, what exactly do we know about these incoming missiles fired from Iran toward your direction?
Well, according to the Israeli army, just 7 minutes ago, they said that they were getting ready to sound the sirens because of Iranian-fired missiles into towns in northern Israel. And soon enough, the alarms, the early sirens have blasted off after this missile attack has been detected coming in from Iran. And just in the past few minutes, we heard these sirens sound off, with them being focused on the northern Israeli areas. This is in response to a threat that Iran has made, indeed, saying that if Israel strikes Addahiya, the southern suburb of Beirut, then they are willing to shoot and fire missiles into Israel. And as we've been saying, Israel has been trying to derail any talks related to reaching a deal between Iran and the U.S. It's been trying to instigate a situation where it wants to get the war back again. As far as the Israeli army's radio, I'm reading now from a security and a military source, saying that witnesses have seen a direct hit of a building in Tiberias, that's in the northern Israeli area. So we are still monitoring to see what kind of damage has been incurred, what kind of rocket attack Iran is indeed launching into Israel. The estimate inside Israel is that Iran was going to launch rockets into Israel, but they were not sure of the scale, they were not sure of the timing. But at the same time, we are reading certain security assessments saying that even if they do that, the response from Iran might not be wide scale. But indeed, the Israelis have been saying that if Iran launches rockets, the Israeli forces will indeed retaliate, and they were saying that the retaliation will be a heavy one. Again, as we've been saying, Israel was waiting for this moment as it could instigate war again, and that's why they are expected to be responding to that as we monitor news now and see what kind of damage has incurred inside northern Israel.
And Nita, sorry, just to make sure we're hearing clearly what you've said, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there has been some damage already spotted, already being reported in northern Israel. Is there any other indications of damage anywhere else in the country?
Well, This is something I'm reporting from a military source, citing witnesses saying that a direct hit was reported in the area of Tiberias. But according to Israeli officials telling Channel 12, they say that the Israeli Air Force has been able to intercept all 4 rockets, all 4 missiles that have been fired from Iran into northern Israel. This is the assessment that the Israeli army or the Israeli military sources are giving to Israeli media channels. That was one line we've gotten, and we've heard from one military source. We cannot necessarily confirm it, but in general, the Israeli army now says that they have detected an additional barrage of missiles, in addition to the one we've been just reporting about the 4 missiles. Now we're talking about another barrage. And according to the Israeli Home Front, they are asking the public to continue following instructions of the Home Front. Although this Home Front, for the past few hours, has refused to change its instructions and its demands of people, saying that there was no change, meaning that they were getting ready to a very minimal situation, very minimal possibility of Iran firing rockets into Israel. But now the Home Front is saying that the alerts may sound in areas in northern Israel, mostly in northern Israel. We're going to be following these developments and let you know what more we're going to hear. But definitely the Israeli Home Front is confirming another barrage of missiles from Iran targeting areas in northern Israel.
Okay, Nida, let's hit pause for just 1 second. I just want to explain to our viewers what they're seeing on their screen right now. These are not live. These are the latest pictures that we've gotten just in the last couple of moments. You can see those rockets streaming through the sky over northern Israel. So there is definitely incoming, as you have said, confirmed. You can see it there on the screen. I wonder, Nida, and perhaps it is way too early to even be asking this question, but has there been any indication from the Israelis that there will be an immediate response?
Well, not yet, but the estimates from Israeli security analysts, Israeli sources telling Israeli media before this attack has been detected, the estimates were that the response will follow and the response will be a heavy one. Now, the assessment in Israel was that Iran was not going to fire. They were getting ready to a minimal possibility of that attack happening. But now, just before the attack took place, the schools inside Israel have talked about canceling education there. And we've been talking also about the Israeli army just a few minutes before the sirens have blasted, telling the communities in northern Israel that they should be getting ready to hear the alarm sounding inside Israel. Again, we did not hear any response as of yet as to what kind of response we are expecting from Israel, but indications in the past few days, in the past few weeks have been that any attack any attack by Iran from Israel will be met with a heavy response. And some Israeli analysts have been saying that Iran will make good on its promise, even if the attack will be minimal, even if the attack will be limited, that the Israelis are going to respond and going to respond heavily to that attack. Again, it's no secret that Israel has been trying to derail these talks between the U.S. and Iran. It was not happy at all with talks of a potential deal, and they were trying their best to continue the war in Iran, to de-link the war in Iran with the war in Lebanon, to try and keep the operations going in Lebanon, not just because of strategic reasons related to the disarmament of Hezbollah, but also for reasons related to derailing the talks and trying to bring about more tension, more, if you may, a new round of attacks on Iran as a way to instigate another round of war. Now we are getting news from the office of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying that Israel will respond.
Israel will respond.
Israel will respond after these Iranian missile launches. Again, no surprise there. Israel has been waiting for this moment to retaliate and to.
The reason why I'm not speaking so much is I want you guys to hear basically like how the news was broken the night of that all this took place on. So as you can see right here, yeah, they got the word that Netanyahu said they were going to respond. Trump told him not to, but Netanyahu made it clear that he's under a lot of political pressure at home to do something about this attack on them by Iran. So of course he had to capitulate and basically do what he must, because he has to also have the support of all his constituents in order to ensure that he's reelected again. So. And then as you can see, all the news broke or whatever, how many missiles, I think there was like 10 waves of rockets fired on them. And, you know, most of them were intercepted. Some fell into open areas, of course, but there wasn't a lot of damage that were done because the intercepted missiles actually did their jobs. And of course, Iran didn't use no munition missiles this time yet, but there's no guarantee that if they keep bombing Lebanon, Iran might just go ahead and start using those munition and missiles again, because they've already started rebuilding their missile capabilities and their drones. So, like I said, there's only time to tell if this fragile ceasefire can hold on just for a little bit longer till their deal's made, but there's no guaranteed.
instigate war again. Now, again, it might not be the case. It might be just one hit versus another. We might not be looking yet at a full-scale return of the war, but at the same time, we know that the Israelis, this is what they're looking for, in addition to Netanyahu fighting for this because of his political survival. We are talking about elections that are expected later this year, as early as October, potentially. And that's why Netanyahu has been trying to return to a state of war. The fact that there was a ceasefire, the fact that there were talks being held, derailed his chances and also showed him doing very poorly in polls. So this is something that he will try and use to continue and to try and instigate another round of war, especially that Israel did not fulfill any of the goals that it has indicated in the beginning of the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran late February. So this is another chance for the Israelis to try and show that they have goals that they want to achieve. But now confirming again the news about the additional barrage of rockets, as well as the Israeli education minister saying that all education will be cancelled tomorrow inside Israel.
All right, so let's go ahead and hear from the foreign minister.
Esmail Baghi, the foreign ministry spokesperson, the Iranian leadership, is speaking.
We have intelligence information that the CENTCOM is taking part in the airstrikes with the Zionist entity. We're also certain that the Zionist entity is not listening to the United States. This is always reported. What is more important to us is that the United States are directly responsible. Simply, they are party to the ceasefire negotiations. Therefore, any event or any act in violation of the ceasefire, be it through the interception of vessels or targeting the southern of Lebanon by Israel, or any other event, will...
You know, it's just so funny. I have to say this right quick before we continue on. Like, ceasefire in Israel do not exist, bro. They break ceasefires all the time. The Israelis and ceasefire don't exist. These people are bloodthirsty. They want blood. Okay? They want blood. If you attack them, some ceasefire is not going to stop them from wanting to go ahead and finish the job of eradicating an entire group of people. They did that with the Palestinians. Now they've eradicated, like, hundreds of thousands of them are missing on the rubble. Bodies still not recovered. We don't know where they're at. You know, they allow themselves to be attacked by Hamas. These people literally, like, they're bloodthirsty. Ceasefire and them don't exist. If they want to destroy you completely, they're going to look for any chance to break the ceasefire, which they always do, and they're going to continue their onslaught. Israelis they're not compatible with ceasefire. That's just the truth. Let's be real. They're not compatible with ceasefire.
Cause the United States to be directly responsible for the escalation in the region. Question. Considering the developments of yesterday and today, the United States president stated that he's not willing to see the agreements being reached with Iran undermined. What is the impact of these strikes on the ongoing negotiations? Will they come to a halt? These developments, no doubt, will have a bearing on the negotiations. Simply, they will increase the level of mistrust. We have already been doubting the intentions of the United States. The actions of the Zionist entity within the region cannot be looked at in isolation from the United States. These statements alleged to be said by the United States officials are raising more doubts and confusion. The unstable diplomacy and statement will no doubt have a direct bearing on the ongoing negotiations. Question. As reported yesterday, we have witnessed direct confrontation between Iran and the Zionist entity following the recent escalation. To what degree would Iran continue with the negotiations? In other words, can we say that the negotiations have come to a stalemate? To the point we are able to safeguard our national interest, we will move and act. We cannot, in any event or under any circumstances, allow the Zionist entity or the United States to take advantage of the current situation, to repeat their violation, to widen the circle of their aggression. And in return, they come up with a mere empty statement that they are committed to the ceasefire that is being continuously violated by them. We have our channels of response, be it through the armed forces or the diplomatic channels. Iran and the Iranian people are prepared to take whatever action in order to safeguard our national interest. As stated earlier, it is without hesitation. The philosophy of negotiations we have been adopting from day one was that to have the Zionist entity, American aggression against Iran coming to a halt. It has been frequently repeated by us, together with the Pakistani mediator, that Lebanon is part and parcel of the agreement. The goal of the ongoing negotiations is to have a ceasefire on all fronts. We cannot allow the Zionist entity or the United States to undermine this part of the deal. I would like to lay more emphasis that both diplomacy as well as our military actions are moving side by side in order to safeguard our national interest. The armed forces will intervene, will act with absolute coordination with our diplomatic corps. Question. We have seen a meeting by a number of leaders and also reports about the Iranian nuclear dossier. Also, there are reports that a resolution would be handed down against Iran. If this resolution is handed down, how would you respond? And especially if this resolution is endorsed? There is no doubt that we are prepared to any likely event. We have a due response as and when required. The idea is the candidate to the Secretary General position of the United Nations, while fulfilling his duties in a responsible fashion, especially that he's taking an office, a very critical office. Also, the Director General of the AIE agency is adopting a responsible demeanor. If the agency is concerned about the scientific aspects of Iran's nuclear file, they should address the party that were responsible for this issue, namely the Zionist entity and the United States. It is them that they started the aggression against our facilities. Till this point, the agency has not provided a decisive response. In the past, the agency has taken decisive and swift actions to similar incidents in the region. This dual standard policy is indicative that the Director General of the agency is acting with bias. He is acting with deliberate bias against Iran and the Iranian nuclear issue. This will raise more doubt about the agency and its Director General. Question. There are reports circulated that the Pentagon has raised the level of alert against the Israeli spying and espionage attempt, namely with respect to the ongoing negotiations with Iran. How do you see this issue, especially that it is repeatedly stated by U.S. officials that they are keeping Israeli officials informed? Nothing is ruled out against the Zionist entity. However, the U.S. Department stated that they are keeping the Zionist entity well informed of the course of negotiations and any outcomes. And we have listened or heard that certain U.S. officials were spied on by the Zionist entity. This is a living proof that the Zionist entity does not have any regard to any diplomacy or any diplomatic course which would be conducive to any stability or calm in the region. Since the beginning of the diplomatic efforts on the nuclear dossier, and as you have been following over the past few months, you have touched that the Zionist entity has always been acting in a very vandalizing demeanor. They have undermined the diplomatic course from day one. They
There you go right here. As you can see right here, Jerusalem, Mashar, Iran. The bombing right there. The bombs hit right there in the Mashar Iran right there. And then, as you can see, the skies of Jerusalem, intercepted missiles, managed to intercept a missile coming through.
We're standing on the way of any agreement being reached between Iran and the United States. The recent reports are living proof of such fact. However, officials should learn lessons. They should come to understand that this party in the region is always acting and aiming at undermining any diplomatic effort. There are also reports stating that Egypt has deployed certain air defense systems and missiles to the United Arab Emirates. And also there are strong worded statements being issued by Egypt against Iran. Egypt is moving in order to gain some support from the Arab countries. I believe that our friends in Egypt are aware that gaining standing by taking side of the righteous party rather than taking the side of any country supportive of the Zionist entity. We do not have any problem with Egypt or any Arab or Muslim country within the region. We have repeatedly made it clear. We are also adamant to maintaining our good neighborhood and good relations with our regional and neighboring countries. We regret to see some countries have allowed their home soil to be used in the aggression against Iran. They have compromised their own sovereignty, allowing the Zionist entity and the United States to take advantage of their home soil and launch attacks against Iran. That's why I advise all countries who are concerned about their standing within the Arab and Muslim world to be aware not to fall deliberately or non-deliberately within the circles of the enemies. For almost 3 years, your brothers in Gaza have been reeling under genocide.
If I feel like it, we might cover some police shootings too as well. So depending on how I feel after the stream, it's been a while since I've reacted to some police shootings. So let's get through this right quick and then we'll see how I feel.
And ethnic cleansing, and regretfully, no response has been seen from their brothers over the other borderline, namely in Egypt. Question. If the Israeli airstrikes continue, will Iran redirect their response or keep it limited to restricted response? This question should be directed to the Iranian armed forces. However, I guess that they will act in a practical fashion and they will not make any statement otherwise. Our national interest and sovereignty will always be safeguarded and protected.
Well, we've just been listening to Ismail Baghi. He's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson there in Iran, speaking in response to the exchange of fire between Iran and Israel Sunday night into Monday morning, a major escalation in the conflict in spite of an apparent ceasefire that is meant to be in place that has been violated repeatedly in previous weeks. The attack will increase mistrust, he said. It will affect negotiations. He also clarified that we cannot look at these Israeli actions in isolation from the United States. And he described diplomatic efforts, Pakistani-led diplomatic efforts, as unstable. Iran and Iranian people are prepared to take whatever action to protect our interests. And crucially, he reiterated that Iran's belief and its aims are for a ceasefire on all fronts, namely in Iran and also in Lebanon.
All right, so now we reach our main I guess main event of the stream right now. The interview conducted by Meet the Press with Donald Trump to talk about the Israeli conflict, the election fraud that happened back in 2020, and among other things right now. So as we're about to watch the full interview right here. And then afterwards, we'll see how I feel, because we might react to some police shootings, because there's a lot of good ones that I've been watching a lot lately that we can kind of go into.
Morning. Today marks 100 days since the United States launched the first strikes against Iran.
I'll put it at 1.5 speed.
Pressures are growing, with no clear end to the war in sight. On Friday, President Trump took his case to rural voters in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. At the invitation of the White House, we joined him at Custer Farms and had a wide-ranging interview that was unfortunately interrupted multiple times by the stormy weather overhead. President Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We are going to talk about your visit while you're here in Wisconsin, but I'd like to start off by talking about the major issue that you are focused on every day, which is Iran. Sunday will mark 100 days since the first strikes. Your Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said that the war had concluded. And yet just this week, Iran attacked U.S. allies in the region, calling it retaliation for a set of U.S. airstrikes. Is the United States at war with Iran?
Well, they've been largely decapitated, and I call it a military exercise because people would rather have it called that. It's not a big war for us. It's not. We have the most powerful military in the world. I built it, frankly. I built it in my first 4 years, and I'm using it a little bit in my second 4 years. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Their anti-aircraft is gone. They might have built it up a little bit over the last 4 weeks during this little ceasefire that we did at the request of some very good people, very, very fine people from, actually from numerous places, as you know. There are a lot of people involved, but from Pakistan in particular, the Field Marshal and the Prime Minister. And we're very close to having a deal, and if we don't have a deal, we'll do it one way or the other. Either way, we win.
I do want to talk about the terms of any potential deal in just a moment, but let me just follow up with you. You did post on social media just this week, my final negotiations to end the war with the Islamic Republic of Iran. There is a naval blockade in place, which technically is an act of war under international law. So is this a war as long as there's a naval blockade in place?
Well, we have a blockade. It's been extremely effective. And the reason we have it is they try to blockade, and now we blockaded them. And as you know, they're losing $400 to $500 million a day. It's not sustainable for them. They have an economy that's shot in addition to everything else. Their leaders are gone. Their generals are gone. Their first tier and second tier are gone. Much of their third tier is gone. But they put up a blockade, and so we blockaded them, and we have the ultimate blockade. I don't consider that
That's the stupidest logic I've ever heard in my life.
Well, how do you define it?
I don't define it at all. I don't think about it. I just do what I have to do.
But if you're not specifically calling it a war, would you consider sending some of the troops who are stationed there, who were sent because of Operation Epic Fury there home? No, would you consider sending them home if it's not technically a war?
We don't need as many troops. I think it's just like it's on the terror on the side of caution. We have a lot of people there. They're very safe. If you think we beat Venezuela, we lost nobody. We took over the whole country. We lost nobody. We have a great relationship, by the way, with Venezuela.
But that's not the same as the Middle East.
We lost nobody. We've lost 13 people here, and that's a lot. 13 people too many. But if you look at Vietnam, where hundreds of thousands of people were killed, if you look at any one of the last 7 or 8 wars where many, many people were killed, we lost 13. And again, 13 is too many. I don't want to lose any. But 13 is less than anybody's ever even envisioned. I think we're doing a great job.
But so are you saying you would consider sending some of the troops home, sir? Some of the 50,000 troops who were sent there as a part of Operation Epic Fury?
It costs us very little to keep them there. I don't consider them in danger. We have the best defense anyone's ever seen. We have the best offense anyone's ever seen. So I don't consider it danger. I would say it would be foolhardy to do that because maybe we may use them. It's unlikely, but I think we'll keep them there until such time as we have a completion. And when we have a completion, you will see things like you've never seen. The oil will go down. The stock market already, as you know, it's hit an all-time high. Even in the midst of it, it hit all-time highs. We had 73 all-time highs in a short period of time that I've been in office, which is a record, by the way. And, we're doing very well. But the main thing is we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Can't do it. We won't do it.
You just referenced the 13 Americans who were killed. And I want to know what your red line is. What would trigger you to restart military action? Would it be Iran killing more American citizens?
Well, certainly that would be something that I would think about very seriously. But my red line would be if I think I wasn't going to make a deal or if I wasn't going to make a deal fast enough. So we're having very good negotiations with the people that are leading the country now. It's the third group that we've been dealing with. And they are different. And you could say it's regime change, actually, because these are very different people. I find them to be more rational. Very smart.
Who is that? Who's leading the country?
I don't want to go into names, but you know who they are. I mean, they're leaders. They're respected. Respected by the people that have to respect them. They are calling the shots. We know that because we see it through various tests that we've given. It's a little bit strange because you have leaders that have been there for a long time and they get wiped out. Then you have leaders that you also know, the second tier, and they get wiped out. All of a sudden, we're dealing with different people. But no, I think that we'll either have something done fairly quickly or we'll finish it out militarily.
Are you talking about the son of the supreme
he's
leader?
A part of it, yes.
He has not been seen in public. What is his status?
I
have you talked to him directly?
I do believe they have great respect for him. I see it. I mean, they want to get his concurrence. They've said to me, they've said to...
Last report I remember reading that he went to Russia to have an emergency surgery because, I believe he lost a leg, one of his arms too as well. He's very deformed right now. So last I checked, that was a report about what happened to the leader. So I don't know any updates right now. Some of the top RRGC members are still said to have direct contact and direct line with him. So I don't think anyone's really heard or seen him at all. Most of the Iranian people have not even seen him making a public appearance, and probably for good reason, because he could be targeted by assassination strikes.
Others that they're looking for approval, and he is part of the approval process. Absolutely.
Have you spoken to him directly? You said you want to meet with him.
No, I have not. I would if he'd like to, but I have not spoken to him directly.
Do you know where he is?
I will tell you,
how he is?
Yeah, they do pay homage to him. I would tell you if they didn't. They seem to, based on what I see, they seem to respect him a great deal.
Do you know where he is? Do you know how he is doing physically?
I don't want to say whether or not I know where he is, but there's a good probability that I do.
Is he inside Iran?
I'd rather not say that.
Okay, he is the son of the last supreme leader, who was obviously hardliner. Is this younger Khomeini any better for the United States than his father was?
Younger? I think, more rational. Injured.
That's crazy.
Injured.
A hardliner rational?
A lot of people
That's crazy.
That badly, they wouldn't be talking about you know,
That's
how we do in
crazy.
the United States. They'd have other things on their mind. So there's a certain bravery there. But he is very seriously injured, yeah.
What is the status of talks exactly in this moment? How close are you to making a deal? Are we talking about days, weeks, months, Mr.
I
President?
think we're very close. We have a couple of points. They don't even seem like big points. They've conceded the fact that they will not have nuclear weapons. We had a clause in there that we will not develop nuclear weapons, and everybody was very happy with it except me. And I said, well, what happens if they not develop, but they go out and purchase, they acquire? I want to put the word if they buy or purchase or acquire, you know, you've got to have that in there too, because that's not developing. So they don't have the right to develop or purchase, acquire, or buy.
Have they pushed back against that? Is that one of the sticking points?
A little bit, and then they didn't.
Okay. You have been saying for months, Mr. President, that Iran is begging to make a deal.
True.
They are so desperate to make a deal. Why haven't they made a deal with you yet?
Because it's a very hard thing for them. They've had great independence.
I'll tell you why right before he answers the question. They both have maximalist demands that need to be met. Iran's made it clear their nuclear enrichment program is not up for discussion. Their ballistic missiles program also not up for discussion. Their drone facilities not up for discussion. They want reparations. They want to be able to control the Strait of Hormuz and basically get a toll free, basically charge a toll on the strait. So that's their concessions. United States wants no nuclear enrichment at all, no promise of nuclear weapons, a halt on their ballistic missiles program, and possibly, you know, a little slowdown on their drone facilities. That's just some of their the concessions that are offered by the United States, and then they also sold Iran they cannot collect a toll on the Strait of Hormuz, and they would not get their frozen assets returned back to them, because Trump says he has to also see in fine print. They also accept the deal, but not besides just accepting the deal, they have to also follow through on never committing to create a nuclear weapon. They have to follow through on following the instructions of the United States in order for them to obtain their frozen assets and, of course, the reparations that they want. The reparations, of course, in this context is the frozen assets that Iran has had frozen for years since Trump's first term, which was also led off by the JCPOA deal. So that's basically what it is right now. That's what it comes down to.
They've dealt with very weak and ineffective leadership on behalf of the United States and other countries, frankly, that allowed them to get away with murder. And I think they can't believe they're in the situation where they've been virtually decapitated.
But if they're so desperate, Mr. President, why haven't they said yes to the terms you're proposing?
Strong, they're proud. There are things they never thought they'd be doing that they're going to have to do. They've got no choice. And it takes a little while. You know, you're talking about 47 years of getting away with whatever they wanted. I mean, this should have been done long ago. This should have been done by other presidents or other countries. It doesn't have to be us, other countries. But they were very close to having a nuclear weapon twice. That was when I terminated the Iran nuclear deal, which was a path. That deal, the JCPOA, that deal was tantamount to giving them a nuclear weapon. It was a horrible deal given by Barack Obama and really penned by him. It was a horrible deal. It was, you know, it expired long ago. I terminated it, but had I not terminated it, it expired long ago. It was a short-term deal. It was a road to a nuclear weapon. They would have had a nuclear weapon 5 years ago.
But Mr. President, I'm curious, because when you were campaigning, you said you would rip up the Iran nuclear deal, but negotiate a better deal. Why didn't you negotiate a better deal at the time? Because after it was ripped out, there weren't guardrails, and they escalated their production of enriched uranium.
Excuse me. It takes years to do these things. These people have been fighting for 47 years. They've been killing Americans. They've been taking off their legs and their arm, and their faces have been hurt so badly and so horribly. I'm moving very fast. I'm into 3 months. You know, Vietnam lasted 19 years. I'm into my 3rd month, and all I...
Key point, they were enriching at 60. The key point, after the deal was ripped up, they enriched at 60%, which is not weapons grade enrichment. It's actually 90%. They were close, but they never went to 90%. It was more like a bargaining chip. So it's crazy that he even ripped that up, because that was actually a very good deal. I have to admit, that was a very good deal. There was no other deal. Trump didn't offer any better deal for the Iranians in this regard. He just said straight up no enrichment at all. No nuclear bomb, even though they were not making it to the degree of a nuclear bomb. People were giving hypotheticals like, yeah, they were not, but they could have, but they have chosen never to do it. They had ample amount of opportunity under Biden's 2020 term. You know, under the early 2020 years of Biden, the 4 years of Biden, they never made a bomb. They chose never to do it. So That should tell you right there that they never were intending to make it a nuclear bomb. If they wanted one, they could have just made one by now.
You would say, well, when are you going to win? If I were a Democrat, nobody would be talking that way, but it doesn't matter to me. I've gotten so used to it. Look, we have totally destroyed their military. They have some missiles left. They have some drones left.
Do you know how many missiles?
Yes, exactly.
How many?
I don't want to tell you.
Can you give me a ballpark?
They have some left. No, but I know almost to the number, and we know where they are too, and we know where their drones are, and we know where their drone factories are. Most of the drone factories have been knocked out. Most of the launching pads have been knocked out, and most of the missile manufacturing areas have been knocked out. But they still have capacity. They have some missiles. They have some drones. I would say, percentage-wise, maybe 21, 22% of their missiles. It's a lot of missiles, but it's not what it was when we first attacked.
So you're saying they have 21, 22% of their missiles left?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Let's talk about what specifically you are demanding as a part of this short-term deal. Will the United States agree to a deal with Iran that doesn't explicitly and immediately give up its nuclear enrichment program on the front end?
Well, depending on when you say immediately, look, it is buried under mountains because our B-2s were incredible. The pilots of our B-2s were unbelievable. And it's buried. They can't get it. The only two countries that could take it, that have the equipment to take, you have to understand, 3 mountains have fallen in on them, right? So you understand that because the fake news was going around saying, oh, maybe they didn't hit their target. 1 o'clock in the morning, pitch black, no moon, no nothing. And every one of those bombs went right down those chutes and blew up. They can't get it no matter what. I mean, they can get it, I guess, with years of work. But the only 2 countries that can get it are us and China, because we're the only 2 with the equipment that's capable of doing that kind of work. And it would take weeks of digging. So the answer is, yeah, we're going to do it immediately. We're going to start looking very quickly, and we'll do it with them. If we make a deal, we'll do it with them. No, we're going to do it with the Iranians. So if we make a deal, that means we'll be friendly. We'll do it with the Iranians. If we don't make a deal, we may do it, or we may just watch it. We have cameras on it all over it. If anybody walked there, if you walked over there, I would be able to read your first name on your lapel. And these are cameras up in space. It's pretty amazing technology. Space Force. We have cameras all over the site. We know if anybody goes there. If anybody went there, any digging mechanism, any truck, any tractors, anything, anybody went there, we would know. We will take care of it. Is that wind or what?
Is that rain?
What is that? Rain.
This would be the first of multiple interruptions due to the weather. Rain hitting the metal roof, making it difficult for both of us to hear each other. So as we're having this conversation, we can hear a little bit of rain.
No, a lot of rain.
A lot of rain. Let me try to get a clear understanding of how the United States would get the nuclear material out. You've called it nuclear dust.
Yeah.
Will you and would you be open to sending in U.S. forces to retrieve the nuclear stockpile?
So the official name is highly enriched uranium. And I call it nuclear dust because it seems to be nice and everyone understands it better and it's sort of cute and people picked it up. But the way you do it is if we make a deal, I know we're friendly, we'll all go together. It'll be our equipment. We'll take it out and destroy it, whether it's on site or whether we take it off site.
So that would require U.S. forces?
Well, that will require, we will have a deal. We'll be friendly. In other words, we will have made a deal. And we will be at peace. And we will go with them or without them. But we won't have people shooting at us, okay? Now, if we don't make a deal, then we're going to take them out militarily very harshly. And we'll wait till we do that before we go, in which case we'll have safety either way.
Mr. President, I wonder, how long are you willing to give Iran to make a deal? How much longer? You've been talking for quite some time.
Well, you really haven't. You were in Vietnam for 19 years. You were in Iraq for many years. You were in Korea for many, many years. You were in all the, I won't even talk about World War II, because that was the big one, and we don't want to ever have that. But you were in all these different wars for many years with thousands and thousands of people killed. We've had 13 people killed, which I hate. We've had 13 people killed, and that includes 2 wars. That's Venezuela, and that's Iran.
But do you have a cutoff point in your head?
You keep talking about speed, Kristen. You were in Vietnam for 19 years, and you tell me about 3 months. And in 3 months, I've demolished the Navy, the Air Force, anti-aircraft. They have no radar. They have no nothing. I demolished their leaders. Their leaders are gone.
Do you know where all of Iran's nuclear material is?
Yes. Yes.
Would you unfreeze any Iranian assets or lift any sanctions up front as a part of any deal? So that would come after they turned over their nuclear enrichment material.
Unlike Obama. Obama flew a Boeing 757, a plane I know very well. They took the seats out, and they loaded it up with $1.7 billion in cash from the banks in Maryland and Virginia and D.C. They emptied out the bank, and they gave them 1.7 in green, and they gave them tens of billions of dollars, just kept giving them money, and it didn't work. That never works.
But again, Mr. President, you promised that you were going to negotiate a better deal. Do you wish you'd done it in your first term when you ripped it up before you ripped up the deal?
No, they weren't ready. No, this is much better. This is much better. If I would have done it in my first term, Israel wouldn't have been ready. Hear that sound? That sound? Thunder, lightning,
Is that going to interrupt, guys?
No.
Okay.
People will understand. We're on a farm.
That's true. Will any deal you make include the release of Americans who are being held by Iran?
Well, we talk about it, and we'll see. Nobody really has an accurate list of who they are, what they are, or if they're being held. But if they're, we've been talking about it. Nobody really has a list. You know that, right? You're asking me about.
It's raining a lot, bro. You just hear the rain.
Demanding a list? Are you demanding to know and saying they've got to come home?
Give me the list. I mean, do you know people that we're talking about? If you give me the names, I'll do my best to get them
Well,
out.
I don't think that's been reported.
Huh?
I don't think it's all of the people who've been held.
All I'm saying is this. If you have a list of names, give them to me, and I will get them
But is
out.
it something you talked to them about?
We talked about people if they have them, but nobody knows who they are. Just like you don't know who they are.
You have openly said you've been frustrated by Israel's continued bombing of Lebanon. Are you and Prime Minister Netanyahu on the same page?
Yeah, we are. We get along very well. We've been great comrades. We did a very, very big number on a certain country that was nothing but trouble.
We read that New York Post article. No, they're not. They're clearly not on the same page right now. There's clearly a lot of turmoil going on behind closed doors than what we're seeing, because Trump's realizing now it's very hard to rein in Israel to be able to get anything done because the Israelis have their own objectives. So it's clear that they're not on the same page. Now he's seeing exactly how the Israeli lobby really operates. They operate in their own time. They do whatever they want. And if you try to undermine them, the attack dogs they have on the ground here on the domestic soil are going to turn against Trump and basically call him anti-Israel and why he's undermining Israel's goals. So,
For 47 years. I disagree with him on a couple of things. I'd like to see Lebanon have a better life. I'd like to see a more surgical attack on Hezbollah. I think it should be more surgical. And we can help them with that, or we can recommend Syria. Syria is doing a very good job of cleaning up their act. They have a very good leader. They have a leader that's really done a good job in a short period of time, and he would love to help.
Are you demanding that Lebanon be a part of the short-term deal that you're negotiating?
I'm not demanding. Okay. I think they'd like to see it, but I'm not demanding.
Okay. I wonder if we should, let me just get a gut check here. Should we pause for 5 minutes and let this pass? I just want to be able to hear everything you said. The rain did not stop, but neither did our interview. When we come back, President Trump on his promise to never start a new war.
skip ahead a little bit.
I'd like to talk big picture now, Mr. President. One of your consistent campaign promises was no new wars, going all the way back to 2015.
Yeah.
Did you break that promise to the American people?
No. I had to stop a country, very powerful, very dangerous country, from having a nuclear weapon because they'd use it. They'd blow up the world. They'd blow up the Middle East. They'd blow up Israel. They'd come here. They'd blow up Europe. They're nuts, okay? They're crazy people. I deal with them. And very high-strung people. They were crazy. And get along with them. I like them. But you don't want to let them have a nuclear weapon. And I'm doing the world a service, but I'm doing our country a service. You know, it's America first. I'm doing our country a service. Nice rain.
It is raining hard.
Okay. But the answer is, let's just keep going. Let's power through it, right?
Here, we paused nearly 5 minutes for the rain to pass and then picked up our conversation. So you're saying you didn't break your promise, and yet, Mr. President, in your first term, you held to that promise, and it was so fundamental to who you were as a candidate to a first-term president. What changed? Because you insisted no new wars.
First of all, I didn't guarantee no war. Why would I have built the strongest military in the world? I built our military. I inherited a terrible military. We had no equipment. We had nothing. I built a tremendous military. Biden gave a lot of it away, but it's still a relatively small portion compared to what I built.
But you said it over and over again, Mr.
Why would I
President?
build a military? Now, I didn't want to use this, but I'm doing you and everybody else a big favor. In the midst of the greatest stock market in history, in the midst of the most successful country, because as you know, in the last term, we were a dead country, Kristen. I know you're a big liberal, a big progressive.
No,
but
I'm just a journalist.
We were a dead country. A year ago, a couple of years ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. And at the all-time hottest.
Yeah, that's kind of not true. We all know which way she leans. I mean, she's on a literally NBC, the most liberal platform on the planet. Like, these people lean left in a lot of their views. We didn't hear none of them criticize Joe Biden at all during his run. Maybe not until like he ran against Trump the second time, and then they started criticizing him just for basically just being mentally gone. Then at that point with the dementia. So, oops, didn't mean to do that.
Which is probably now, believe it or not. We just had all brand new stock market records today. But at the hottest point in the history of our country, I took Scott, Howard, I took Pete, I took everybody into a room. I said, I have to do this country, this world, the Middle East, Israel, everybody a favor. You have Iran. They're going to have a nuclear weapon. Barack Hussein Obama signed the JCPOA. It was a horrible deal. Horrible deal. Listen to me. It was a horrible deal. It was a path to them getting a nuclear weapon. They were very close to having a nuclear weapon. I terminated the deal. Wait. Then I sent the B-2 bombers in about 9-10 months ago, and they totally obliterated the site, and I saved it. We had a choice. We could let them have a nuclear weapon, or we could go along and have some beautiful days. But they would have, it's a judgment. They would have used a nuclear weapon. And you know what? When people hear that whole scenario, when they hear me say Iran was going to have a nuclear weapon, and they're crazy, they say you're doing the right thing. I don't think it's I mean, you'll do polls because they're all fake polls anyway, especially yours. But you do polls. I just want a big election. And the reason I want an election is people have confidence in me. I have good judgment. I had to make a judgment. Do I want to go along and have a country that's doing really well, but somebody is going to try and kill us? Or do I want to put out that horrible threat? And I did. I put it out. I put it out for many, many years. Now I'm going to put it out permanently. I'm going to do it either through negotiation, where we're very close to a deal, or I'm going to blow the hell out of them, to be honest with you. And it's going to be very easy for me to do. That's actually the easier path. So when you say, I promised, I didn't promise anything. I don't like these endless wars. This is not an endless war. We've been doing this for 3 months. Much of it has been under the form, a pretty good form of ceasefire. The blockade has been amazing. Our Navy is amazing. Our military is the best in the world. Hey, we took over a very powerful country, Venezuela, a lot of soldiers, big, strong military. We took over Venezuela in a matter of minutes. We destroyed the capability of Iran in a matter of days. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Now I'm going to finish it. But remember, you were in Vietnam 19 years because stupid people. You were in so many different countries. Every war you were in for years. Look at Iraq. Look what you were. You were there for years. We're there for, listen, we're there for a few months. And the threat is largely over. Soon it will be over. But you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon, or they will blow you up. There will be no Kristen. There will be no NBC. There will be no Meet the Press. You will end the Meet the Press string.
Let me ask you, though, during your 2016 campaign, you called the Middle East a quagmire. What makes you so sure this won't become a quagmire?
We're not going to be there.
You're convinced this won't become a quagmire?
It's not a quagmire. I just wiped out the military of a very dangerous country. And I wiped out the
They're still not wiped out.
We left tomorrow. If we just said, all right, let's get out, it'll take them 15 or 20 years to rebuild back. But I'm not going to give them even that chance. I'm not going to give them that chance. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if there was even a 1% chance that they'd have it, I wouldn't leave. We're almost finished. We're going to either have a deal, a strong deal, a meaningful deal, not like the Obama thing. Obama was a path to a nuclear weapon. Mine is the exact opposite. Mine is a wall. It's a wall. Just like I built 1,000 miles of wall on our southern border. And by the way, I took the worst border in history and I made it the best border in history in a matter of weeks.
And yet, Mr. President, Iran was the closest to developing weapons-grade uranium after you ripped up the nuclear deal because there were no guardrails in place.
They were developing it during the nuclear deal. You don't know that? Iran, when Obama signed that stupid deal where he paid them billions and billions of dollars, he thought he could bribe them. Listen to me. They were developing a nuclear weapon. That's how they got there. They got all of this uranium during Obama. You know that, don't you? Well, that's how they got there. Don't say this. They got there, they developed it during the Barack Hussein Obama, during his administration.
They've escalated their development after the deal was finished. Let's talk about the economy. I want to talk about the economy.
If I didn't go in there with the B-2 bombers, they would right now have a nuclear weapon, and it could be that half of the world would be eradicated.
Let me ask you about the economy. You got a strong jobs report today that beat expectations.
Not strong. Really strong.
Beat expectations.
By how much? Triple.
172,000 jobs created. And yet, gas is up, diesel is up.
It's all coming down as soon as the war's over.
70% of farmers say they can't afford fertilizer. What's your message?
Farmers are doing very well.
Let me ask you, what is your message to farmers, many who support you, but who say they're struggling? Who say they're struggling?
Because there's nobody been better to farmers. You know, I gave farmers last term $28 billion because China took advantage and other people. And you know who paid for it? China. Last term. You know, I had a great first term. I had the greatest economy ever. And you know what? This one's blowing it away.
What's your message to farmers, though, Mr. President, who say they are struggling, they're struggling to make ends meet?
Am I allowed to talk? You keep asking questions and you don't listen to the answers. I love the farmers, and the farmers love me, and the farmers trust me. In the first term, I had something very similar. China and others were, and Canada, which was brutal, they were taking advantage of our farmers. They don't take advantage of it anymore.
Funny shit. Trump just
I gave them
grilling her a little bit.
Split up. They never had a payday like that. And the farmers loved me, and they came back and they voted for me in record numbers. You know that. Nobody's ever even come close. Now, because of the fact that we had a choice, I had a choice to make. I could keep it going. The farmers were doing great. Fertilizer was very cheap. Everything was cheap. Gasoline was very low. Everything was very low. I could have kept it that way, but I said I have to take a little bit of a turn. The farmers are going to understand it better than anybody. We're going to have higher gasoline. We're going to have a little higher fertilizer, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to get rid of a nuclear weapon in the hands of very dangerous people. Excuse me, wait. It should have been done for 47 years. No president had the guts to do it. I did it, and I've done it. It's almost complete. As soon as that's complete, gasoline prices are going to drop like a rock. You know, I was in Iowa speaking about farms, and it was before we attacked Iran. And I was in Iowa, and the prices were $1.85 a gallon, $1.91 a gallon. What?
This time, it wasn't the rain, but an audio issue that forced us to pause the interview again.
Wow, bro.
Gas prices
this is crazy.
They're going to come low, very low.
Rain, audio issue. What's next going to happen?
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends where the war goes. It could be I'll have to give them a shot, and it could be we'll sign an agreement. If we sign an agreement, they'll go down now. Otherwise, they'll go down after we're finished.
You have a new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh. Yeah. His first meeting in the role is later this month. After this month's jobs report, economists now say it's possible the Fed may have to raise rates. Do you think that's possible, and what would your reaction be, sir?
So I'm of a different feeling. I think Kevin's fantastic, and I want him to do whatever he wants. I don't want to have a big influence on him. But we had a great report. We're doing great. And it's unfair that whenever you do great, they want to raise interest rates. It should be the opposite way. You know, if you go back 15 or 20 years, when you had good reports, the market went up. Nowadays, when you have good reports, the market goes down because they think they're going to raise interest rates. There's no reason to raise interest rates. The country becomes great. We built the country by doing great and having rates low. What they do is when they raise interest rates, they try and kill success. I don't want to kill success. We should actually lower interest rates. Now, if inflation comes, and people live with inflation, but if inflation comes, what happens is you stamp it out. But success can kill inflation, just like higher interest rates. What they do now is, like, we had great job numbers. You agree, right?
They beat expectations.
Not expectations,
Yes.
like 3 times. Okay, but you ready? What do? They say, oh, let's raise interest rates. It's the wrong thing to do. I would like to see rates get lower because we could build this into the greatest machine that the world has ever seen. But you can't do that when everybody immediately raises interest rates. So we had great job numbers. We're doing great. We're building more factories. We have more money coming into our country right now from other countries and people than ever before. Wait a minute. What happens? I don't want to just kill it with high interest rates. Growth is the greatest thing you can have, and growth does not cause inflation.
Would you be upset if they raised rates? What is your message to them about that?
Living with Kevin, I have a lot of respect for him, but my feeling is that when a country is doing well, they shouldn't be penalized by immediately raising interest rates. They should actually be incentivized. We have debt, we have other things, we have things we want to take care of. I want to go bigger in the military, I really do. If we do what I'm saying,
They're never gonna get rid of the debt. I've already said this before. I don't say this again. Because of a thing called Triffin's dilemma, we're always gonna have debt to a degree because we have the global reserve currency. So when your currency props up other countries' economies, you technically can never really truly be without debt, because if that happens, our economy will crash and every other country's economy will literally fall in line soon after. So when the Republicans or Democrats go around and like offer to get rid of the debt completely, is just never going to happen. It's a non-realistic thing. So
this will be a beautiful, well-oiled machine like you've never seen before.
And when we come back, President Trump defends his controversial plan that could give payouts to January 6th rioters.
all right, let's go skip a little bit.
This $1.8 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund, it was going to compensate people who say the federal government weaponized the legal system against them. It's been blocked by the courts, met with opposition from Republicans
And Democrats.
in Congress and Democrats.
Excuse me, mostly Democrats.
Mostly
Some
Democrats and some Republicans.
Very few Republicans.
Just to be very clear, are you backing off the fund completely, as your acting attorney general Todd Blanche has said, or are you looking for another avenue to revive
So
the
let me
fund?
explain what the fund is. People have been hurt so badly by radical left lunatics that worked for the Biden administration and Sleepy Joe. They're vicious, they're violent, what they did to people. And of course, they went after me more than anybody else. They raided Mar-a-Lago and all the other things. But people have been badly hurt. They've committed suicide. They've lost their jobs. They've lost their families. They've lost their wives. They've lost everything. They've lost everything over a fake weaponization of government.
So are you looking for a way to revive it?
Well, look, if it was up to me, I'd pay them the kind of money that they deserve. People have been destroyed. Lives have been destroyed. Many suicides. Think of it. People have committed suicide because a bunch of thugs went after them. So me, personally, I think the weaponization fund is a great idea. And so do many other Republicans. You have to get it approved. If they get it approved, that's great. If they don't get it approved, I'd be disappointed.
All right, we're going to motor through this.
But you have to understand, people have been destroyed by crooked politicians, and they should be reimbursed for that.
Do you think anyone who attacked police officers on January 6th should get taxpayer money?
I wouldn't be inclined to say so, but I have to see it. I can tell you this, 97% of those people, you look at them, the FBI or whoever it was, you had a lot of crooked cops, you had dirty cops. Comey was a dirty cop.
Well,
a guy like Bolton was a dirty cop.
There's no evidence.
Wait a minute. Oh, you think Comey was a straight
people
cop?
who pleaded guilty to assaulting police
Comey
officers.
was a dirty cop.
No,
they had
people who assaulted
FBI,
police
listen to me.
officers.
They had
Police
FBI
assaulted
agents
police officers.
ushering them.
Police officers also allowed the January 6ers into the building. Like they literally, like you can see in the video. If you watch back the rides, which I'm probably gonna cover on the show someday, you could watch back the rides and you can literally see that they're being allowed in by the police officers that were there, basically to saying, come right on in, do what you have to do, basically incriminate yourselves, and then basically we're going to use all of this against you at some point. It was all orchestrated, all set up. January 6th was a complete inside job. You cannot tell me otherwise it wasn't. They were offered a chance to get the military there and also protect the Capitol. Nancy Pelosi turned that down. The next thing you know, it turned into a whole big disaster. So you heard it here first. January 6th was an inside job. That's all. You cannot tell me otherwise. Like these people were there. They were there peacefully to protest. Next thing you know, everything went south or whatever. It looked like some people there looked like they were not there to just protest. They were there to also orchestrate, be agents of chaos and incite these people to go further than just turn this into turn this from a peaceful protest into a violent protest. And then the law enforcement, who seemed like they were allowing the January 6th to come in and then just further incriminate themselves just by going in there, destroying the Capitol, and next thing you know, get people jammed up with the law. So I am for that. I was for the anti-weaponization bill before he got shot down, but at the same time, of course, when it comes to like the discussion of January 6th, liberals always like to frame it as just like call it an insurrection, even though none of the people there were charged with insurrection. Trump was not charged with insurrection. So they always always bring up January 6th or whatever, but they never talk about the BLM riots. Notice that, huh? They never talk about the BLM riots. How bad that was. Many people died more on that day than they did on January 6th.
Into the building. They had FBI go into the building. Those people walking around, they're looking always in the side. They weren't in. They were being ushered into the building. You had a bunch of dirty cops, and frankly, what they did was weaponization of our government.
But sir, there's no evidence of that. More than 1,000 people.
No, there's none. You know what you do? Try looking at the tapes one time.
Would you take it off
the table? Look at the tapes one time.
But 172 people did plead guilty to assaulting police officers.
You know why they pled guilty?
Should they be exempt?
Because they told they were going to jail for 15 years if they didn't. They pled guilty because they were frightened. They went down. They were ushered into a building. Many of them were arrested without even going into the building.
Would you be okay with them receiving taxpayer dollars?
The people were destroyed by dirty cops and by weaponization. Many of those people should be compensated. Now, with that being said, as I understand it, the weaponization fund was going to set up a group of people, people that could be picked by anybody, fair people, smart people, and they will go on an individual case basis. Okay. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the weaponization fund. I love the idea because people like you, the fake, dirty press, the crooked press, people like stupid Biden, he's not smart enough to know what's going on, but people that surrounded him, surrounded his beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office. What they did to the lives of people, they destroyed people. They sent people to jail who did nothing wrong.
Just to be very clear, there's no evidence of what you're saying. But let me ask you about Todd Blanche.
Listen to me.
Let's talk
There's
about Todd
tremendous evidence. There's nothing but evidence. The election was rigged. It was a dirty election. And it's happening again right now in California. It's happening right now in California. Right now, it's look at what's happening in California. It's 4 days. In California, it's.
All I would say is if you look at the election that just happened recently right now in California, for example, the Democratic mayoral election that's going on, you could tell the mail-in ballots, you can tell right now, stuff like that is being rigged, bro. There's clear evidence of election fraud going on. There's clear evidence of elections being manipulated. But the problem is we're still not reforming our election process. We're still not doing that. Florida did it, but all the other states did not follow suit. As a matter of fact, our entire federal elections should be nationalized and should be reformed. That's what the SAVE Act was for. That's why I supported it. Unfortunately, that got shot down, and now there's no chance of it ever getting through. So we tried to attempt to reform our elections, and that ultimately failed because we didn't eliminate the filibuster. So.
No, they're not. They're dropping fast because it's a rigged election. Let me tell you, it's 4 days, and they aren't even close to coming up with it. You know why they're doing that? Because they're cheating on the election.
Do you have evidence to support
that? All I have to do is look. All I have to do is look. And I listen to people, and let's see what happens.
But, sir, that's not evidence.
Do you think it's appropriate?
That's how they count the votes.
Do you think it's appropriate that they have an election, and 5 days later they're nowhere close to picking?
State and local officials acknowledge they are slow. They're urging.
No, they're crooked.
They're urging the votes to be counted quickly. That's how they vote in California.
They're crooked, just like you're crooked. Your press is crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked.
To be fair, I'm not crooked. But let's
really?
Let's
well, you play right into their hands.
Let's continue.
You're either crooked or you're stupid.
That's pretty funny.
Right into their hands.
Niggas say you're stupid, bro.
That these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But Mr. President,
you know why I got that? Because you have no credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged. Let's keep talking about. I want to talk about Todd Blanche.
You have more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
about your elections in this country. We're like a third world country. Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC and CBS and CNN. Those are one-sided crooked networks. Right? Let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I traveled all.
I know. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
On and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You want to straighten out your press because you know what? A country can never be great with the dishonest.
Listen, you traveled all the way to Wisconsin before the interview.
He did stepped on the mic, bro. Shut up, bro.
I spoke with President Trump on Saturday, and we both acknowledged the complications during the interview posed by the rain. He agreed to sit down with me for another Meet the Press interview.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
All right. W show tonight, guys. W show. I will be back later on today. I'm going to continue this train on right now. We'll try to get back to full-time streaming a little bit. I'll try to be a little bit earlier instead of 3 a.m. I might go live in another couple of hours, actually, depending on how I feel. But we're going to see. Let me read the news a little bit, see what's going on, and I'll make an event if I'm going to be back on live in a couple of hours or not. But till then, see you guys then.